of security tightens as we await the arrival of Ralph Records recording artists, the residents. We understand that the residents have in fact left their Toronto residence in their very first visit to Canada. We understand also that they have taken taxi cabs. No doubt this is to be considered a diversionary move in order that the gangs of residents fans that we are expecting will not be able to get access to them. Undoubtedly, they have sent the limousines off in a different direction to fool the fans. Any minute now, we expect that the residents... Hold it down back there! Just cool it, all right? You'll get your chance. The residents will be arriving. Hold him back. Yeah, hold him back, if you could, please. We have a promise of security performance here that we have to live up to. Michael, I believe that the residents should be here any minute now. We're very eagerly we're waiting for the sight of their gelatinous orbs in the back seat of a taxi cab to arrive at any minute now. There's been a lot of sort of false hope built up. And we are waiting a sign, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. On the residents' watch, this is Christopher Ward outside of Much Music Studios. Some obscurity up until now, and we don't expect this episode to be any different at all. Please keep the fans back. We want to retain absolute total security as much as possible.
Guys, I've been waiting for this all my life.
You've witnessed the kind of things that have happened outside of this building for the likes of Nick Rhodes, Simon Le Bon, Iron Maiden, and Paul Young, but we have not seen anything like what is happening right now on the streets of Toronto surrounding the arrival of the anonymous residents, Ralph Records ace recording artists. They are just waiting now, I believe, for the traffic to clear. Yes. There they are, please. No, hold it. No screaming until we see the whites of their eyes, please. Hold it. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen.
Watch the bright lights.
Will you please welcome Ralph Records recording artists, the residents, to Toronto. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Keep the fans back. Keep the fans back. Welcome to Toronto. Welcome to the frozen north. Very good to have you here. And welcome to you as well.
I'm never going to watch this.
Hold them back, please. You're witnessing it live on national television, the arrival of Ralph Records recording artists. The residents, ladies and gentlemen, the residents.
And they're working their way upstairs. The security is very tight, so it's going to take them a little while to get upstairs, as you noticed there. They are exploring the area down there, and they're going to be up in just a few moments. Also, we've got a spotlight with Pat Benatar, so we'll be right back after this. As you can see, they are wandering around our studios, just sort of chilling out, as you would say. Yes, getting in from the cold. This is their first time in Canada, I understand, in something like 14 years.
Yeah.
Or is this their first time ever in Canada?
Oh, I think it's probably the first time.
The first time ever. So in Montreal, don't forget the residents will be playing there, and they also are playing in Toronto. And I mean, look at those heads. I mean, you're talking about men with brain power here, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be no ordinary interview with Christopher Ward and the residents, plus their spokesperson, the only one that speaks, because the residents, well, I will tell you no more. You will have to wait and see. In our spotlight today, Pat Benatar. We have 6 of her best videos.
Christopher Ward here on Much Music with the members of the residents, and very nice to have you all here today. Ralph Records recording artist, the residents from San Francisco, California. And would you also please welcome Homer Flynn, who is the spokesman for the band and also for the Cryptic Corporation. Welcome, Homer.
Hi. Hi, Chris.
Nice to have you here today.
Well, it's nice to be here. We've enjoyed our stay in Canada so far, and hope we continue to.
Yeah, this is the first visit for the band to this country, we believe?
Definitely. It is definitely the first visit. And if the reception in Toronto is anything like the one in Montreal, the band will be back just as quickly as possible. It was a great reception in Montreal.
Oh, terrific. We're glad to hear that, because I know that performing is not something that the residents usually do. They're more recording act, we understand, and video makers.
Historically, they are definitely a recording act, as well as video makers, but their interest in performing live has really increased a lot over the last few years, and so I think there are probably going to be more performances and more concerts. But it's a pretty unpredictable situation, so we'll just have to see.
Now, Ralph Records is based in San Francisco, we understand, and there are also other artists signed to the label like Tuxedo Moon and Snake Finger, and you also distribute records through Ralph. How does the Cryptic Corporation and Ralph Records, how does that all work?
Well, the Cryptic Corporation did own Ralph Records up until about 6 months ago, and we recently sold it to the man who was the sales manager, and really he's running Ralph Records now. The Cryptic Corporation actually are the managers for the residents. We really handle all their business affairs. When they have projects, like there's a big video project that we've been trying to get financing on for some time now, and we've been handling all the details on that. We set up the tours for them, produce the videos for them. So we generally handle all their business aspects, as well as doing some projects on our own, but the residents are mainly what we're concentrating on right now.
Now, the Residents have been recording for over 10 years now. The first album was called Meet the Residents, is that right?
Right, that's right.
And you've ranged musically through an incredible variety of styles. Are they just relentlessly curious to explore different areas, or what's made them keep changing like that?
Well, the Residents started out with the idea of trying to make each album as different from the previous one as possible. And it has a lot to do with just, as you say, a relentless drive towards experimentation. I mean, they really like to try different things. They don't really, whereas it seems that most artists are not really content until they can make things sound, you know, almost like one thing comes directly after another with very little change in between, a sort of a seamless sound from album to album. The Residents really like for that to change and continue to surprise their fans because they don't really know what they're going to do next.
We have the video for Hello Skinny. Now, maybe you could tell us a little bit of what went into that particular video, and especially for our fans at home who are used to much more mainstream music, maybe you could tell them, offer a warning, if you will, for what to expect here.
Well, let's see, that's a good challenge. Hello Skinny was actually made by a very talented filmmaker, Graham Whiffler, who was the staff video artist or filmmaker for Ralph Records for about 2 or 3 years in the late 70s. He made that as well as Tuxedo Moon's video, as well as MX-80, Snake Fingers, and he did 2 of the Residents' 1-minute movies. The video itself is a collage of still photos that then has a lot of movement put into it by moving cameras. And from my standpoint, I consider it, if not the best, definitely one of the strongest of the Residents' videos. It has a lot of depth to it in that you can watch it over and over and over again and continue to get more out of it. You see more detail, and you see the arrangement of the still photos in terms of the flow is very interesting. There's a lot you can get through multiple showings.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it now then. We have the Residents and Hello Skinny for you on Much Music. From the Residents, and we are here, as you can probably see, with the members of the Residents and also with Homer Flynn, spokesman for the band, and from the Cryptic Corporation. Now, we understand that you had an unfortunate security problem recently.
Yes, unfortunately, the Residents were playing a show at the Palace Theater in Los Angeles, and there was a definite lapse in security after the show, and one of the eyeballs was stolen. And one of the residents here has definitely suffered a loss of identity.
Yeah.
And at first it was really terrible, and everybody was very upset over it. But the residents are almost fatalistic in a lot of ways. They believe that life presents you with certain opportunities, and fate comes in certain ways, and you should follow these things. You should not turn your back on them. So this resident now has a new identity. He's Mr. Deadeye, as we call him among the troupe.
Right.
And things are, you know, life goes on. We have to do the best we can from it. There's definitely talk at one point of trying to find someone to put a curse on the missing eyeball.
Right.
But we've decided that there's no reason to go that heavy with it now. So the threat of the curse has now been eliminated.
Oh, good. Now, is this a character in transition? In other words, might this particular character evolve or devolve in a new direction?
Oh, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, at this point, it is in transition, whether the transition winds up with this as the reality or it continues to move, it's really hard to tell.
Now, you have done a cover version. Well, first of all, you did a whole album with the Residents of, what, 60-second versions of old rock classics.
Well, not exactly. Not exactly. I mean, that's sort of two different albums that you're talking about.
Okay.
The first album was The Third Reich and Roll.
Right.
Okay, and that was just sort of a conglomeration or a mixture of all 1960s, sort of 1960s bubblegum hits or trashy hits. Like
the Yummy Yummy and all that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yummy
Okay.
Yummy, My Baby Does the Hanky Panky, Battle of the Green Berets, etc., etc. And the Residents sort of took all this and grinded it through their own personal disposal and got the parts back and, you know, taped them all back together, and it came out sounding like what Top 40 may have sounded like had Martians listened to it and done their own versions.
Right.
The other record is one called The Residents Commercial Album.
Ah, I see. Okay.
In which they are actually attempting to do, for them, relatively commercial music. See, I'm not getting any agreement over here, but...
No, well, you can only do the best you can.
Yeah, that's right. But the hook in the thing, or the lack of commerciality, comes in the fact that all of the songs are exactly 1 minute long. And so it winds up getting no airplay, or there was one writer that referred to it as musical coitus interruptus. It's like just about the time that you're sort of getting your foot tapping along with it, it stops.
It's over, yeah.
And the next one starts and you start getting your foot tapping along with it, and then it stops. And so on one hand, there are very commercial things on it from my own point of view. But at the same time, it wound up being, you know, sort of true to the Residents with its lack of commerciality.
Now, you've done a cover version also of the James Brown classic, It's a Man's World. What led to that reinterpretation?
Well, the Residents have been long-standing James Brown fans. I mean, they have some wonderful stories about seeing James Brown in concert back in the mid-'60s. Wonderful concerts back in the South. And like I say, I have long been fans. They are in the midst of a proposed series of records called the American Composer Series, in which they take famous American composers and redo their music. And so one entire side of the first release is by James Brown. The album is called George and James. It's George Gershwin on one side and James Brown on the other.
Right.
They're also in the midst of their second album of this series, which will be released next fall, and it's John Philip Sousa and Hank Williams.
Oh, excellent choices.
So they have a lot of interest in doing other people's music as well as their own.
Now, has James Brown heard this version? Do we know?
Not that I know of.
Oh.
Not that I know of.
Well, hopefully you'll hear it in the future. We're going to play it for our viewers right now. This is The Residents on Much Music, and it's a man's world.
And they do this live in the show.
It's a man's world from The Residents on Much Music, and we understand that the Residents records are hard to get. They're not available through the normal commercial means. Is that right?
Right. There's no actual distribution as such in Canada. It's something that we hope to take care of soon. But as of right now, the records are only available through mail order from Ralph Records.
Now, we have the address for that, so if we can take a look at it now. If you're interested in The Residents, there's a catalog you can get that will tell you not only what records are available, but also about various Residents pieces of merchandise, too. And that address is Ralph Records at 109 Minna Street, number 391, San Francisco. The zip is 94105. That's California, United States of America. Now, they are performing tonight in some places. When is the date today? It's the
24th?
24th, yes, there it is. It's the 24th at the Music Hall on Danforth Avenue in Toronto. And I am looking forward to this because it's been, 14 years of recorded work and the first performance in Canada?
Right. Right. Well, this will be the second one. We played, Montreal.
Oh, second, yes, of course, yeah. And Well, we're going to wrap it up anyway with one of the illustrious one-minute movies. Oh, and just before I do that, I would like to make a presentation to the various members of the residence here. Hope you'll be able to wear this in good health. Much Music T-shirts. There we go. And for you. Thank you. And for you as well. And Homer, a little souvenir of your visit here to the nation's music station.
Wonderful.
And I don't know, is there some creative way in which the band could introduce Moisture, the 60-second movie, that do you think? Without words? Is there a way to introduce a video without words? Here it is.
I think.